Hey guys, it's your boy Salami back again with a new video, and I wanted to go over the basics of what is COREPUNK and why I'm excited to see this upcoming game. If you like this video and if you find it interesting or helpful, like or subscribe, and I will give you guys all a big hug and say thank you very much. Alright, let's get on to the video, or even if you just like the sound of my sweet sultry voice, please come along and let's talk about COREPUNK. So if you didn't know, this game was announced 3 years ago. No shit, 3 years ago this was announced with a little trailer, and since then I've been waiting and waiting for more and more information, and we're finally starting to get there. Um, so it's been created by a studio called Artificial Core, and they're headquartered in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, with core development taking place in the office in Kiev, Ukraine. So all the best to them guys over there. They may have, I'm not too sure if they've moved out of Kiev or if they're still working full time there. They've been working on this on COREPUNK for over 5 years now, so they've been hammering away at and hammering tonging at this a few times, and of course they've slipped a few release dates and a few of the beta periods. But like Miyamoto always says, a game delayed will always be better than a game always rushed, or along those lines. You get the drift. Okay, moving on. Let's get to the basics out of the ways. Out of the way, it's an MMORPG, of course, and that's got an isometric view. One of the big questions always asked when an MMO is, on the horizon is the subscription model. So instead of doing gameplay and all that first, we're going to go subscription model because that's really the win or loss point for most people. So they're going the route of New World here, from what I can tell, which is it's a buy to play game, or actually Elder Scrolls Online as well, with a battle pass and cosmetic purchases. I think this is probably the best option because it makes the most sense. I don't think a sub would work at this point. I think Final Fantasy and World of Warcraft get away with it, but I don't know if anyone else could. So I think they've made the best choice they could with what they had. So that's their model, and the cosmetics work out because of the way that the characters are built, which we'll get to later in the video. Okay, so let's going over some more of the basics. We'll set our way over to gameplay. I think a big feature of this game that's kind of overlooked is the fact that it's an asymmetrical game. Not asymmetrical, it's isometrical. Get it right. And it uses Fog of War for all of its gameplay. So if you've played a MOBA like League of Legends or Dota, you know that, Fog of War plays a big part in that, especially if you can't see where the enemy's coming from. You don't know what's around the next corner unless you've warded and things like that. So they're using that in this game to massive effect, which I think is kind of cool because not many MMOs get the ability to use Fog of War in this way. Because of the third person nature of most MMOs, you can always see what's around the bend. So I think this is going to be unique to COREPUNK and its aesthetic and everything else moving forward. So that's the first part of that. It's going to keep PvP and PvE exciting, I feel, because you're not going to know what boss is around the corner or the next player that's going to come and attack you. Again, we don't know, everything about this game yet, but I could really see, you out in the wastelands, which is, I think, their PvP open area, where going to get resources and just getting ganked because someone's hiding behind a tree and then they come around and get you. I think that could be really cool. What else have they got here? So it's very MOBA like, and I think it's a good and a bad thing. MOBAs get a bad rep, but I think over the past year or so they've kind of lost that stigma because they're not as prevalent as they once were. They've kind of leveled out a little bit. Not every second game coming out is a MOBA, so I think that stigma of it looking like a MOBA and playing like a MOBA but being an MMO will actually play in its benefit and not disadvantage. moving on from the initial like view and fog of war setting, the next thing to talk about is they are doing the Holy Trinity, which I really like. As MMOs have kind of started to veer away from the Holy Trinity of tank, healer, and DPS. They've said that that's going to be in the game along with some more hybrid classes, which nothing wrong with hybrid classes. So I think that's really cool that, you know, tanks are tanks, healers are healers, DPS are DPS, and you'll have a range in between that do healing and DPS or healing and tanking, or, you know, like, I think that's cool. I'm happy that they're going for the Holy Trinity route as well as hybrid stuff. So the way they're doing classes, though, to coincide with the Holy Trinity, is there's characters instead of creating your own. So they've got preset ones. So far there's 6 on the website, and we're going to go over those in depth in other videos. And they all have, you know, what they do and what weapons they equip, and, you know, all that good stuff. And I think this will just make balancing a lot easier for PvP by having set characters / classes. You know what everyone's baseline abilities are and how they're going to work, so you can always, you know, rearrange and make things work and buff and debuff classes as you go, which I think is a good way of doing it. So not staying too long on classes because that's going to be in a separate video, but moving on from there, you get a hint of the MOBA framework with the classes and hero, not synergy, but, you know, crossover there, which I think is quite neat. Wicked, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of League. I think that draws me in just that little bit more. The game is mouse and keyboard driven, which is like every MOBA out there, but I'm going to say now, I reckon we can get this going on Steam Deck pretty bloody well. I play League of Legends on my Steam Deck, and it works better than you'd expect, so don't count it out just yet. We'll get there, don't you worry. I'm doing a winky eye right now. You can't see me, but I'm winky eyeing this, and we're going to make sure this plays on Steam Deck if it's the last thing I do. And then covering all the basics. Some of this you would have seen in my previous video. You know, they've got a deep crafting experience with gathering and crafting. There's like 6 different types of, you know, crafting types, and you can't, you know, have everything maxed out. You've got to pick and choose, as they have the system that drops down your last previous crafting skill or gathering skill, so you can never max all of them out, which I really like. So that's cool. The other things they have in there, they've got everything an MMO should have. It's got dungeons, PvP, PvE questing, and they don't say it, but I'm going to assume there's going to be raids in here. They may not be on day 1, but I have a feeling raids will show up. And of course, loot. Lots of loot. They're not doing armor in the traditional sense. If you didn't know, there's no armor sets to collect. That's all going to be cosmetic, and it's all the loot you're collecting is weapons and your relics and chips and that to go into your weapons and armor. Your set. So armor's slightly different in this game, but that's okay. So next up, we'll do a little bit about combat. If you've seen, it is pretty slow and deliberate like a MOBA. I really like this because it gives you a bit of a chance to react to what's going on. In some of the videos I've shown, like, the AI will group up and start healing each other and, you know, flanking you or run away, making the encounter just a little bit more dynamic, in my opinion. You know, some people are going to find that combat way too slow. I'm hoping that once you start playing, that problem just slides out of memory and it doesn't become a problem. But I feel like that will make PvP way more exciting because, you know, it's all about maneuvering into the right position for spells and abilities, and I think it'll work out just fine. And they can always speed up character movement post-launch if that seems to be an issue. But I think they've done quite a lot of testing and they've still got more to go, so I have a feeling that won't be an issue. Other interesting facts that they've got in this game, they've got day-night cycles along with weather, so hopefully they don't say that they're going to, but they sometimes weather might play a part in the gameplay. I know other games do it, and I don't expect them to, but being able to, use rain to increase, say, fog of war, or hot weather to, draw out that fog of war slightly. You could do some cool little things like that with the gameplay. Using weather and the day and night cycle. Whether or not they do is another story. The game is currently, COREPUNK is pretty much in late stage alpha testing from the FAQ on their website. That might not have been updated for a while, I'm not sure. So that gives me hope that they're getting, they're almost in beta, right? So they must be almost ready for pre-release. So maybe 2023 we might see some a soft release or a hard release. I'm not gonna jinx it, but fingers crossed COREPUNK gets into our hands this year. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. That was just a quick overview of COREPUNK in the post-apocalyptic MMORPG. So I'm going to be releasing more content soon for COREPUNK. If you enjoyed this, again, please like and subscribe. You love my sweet sultry voice. And I will catch you in the next one. Alright, guys, ciao.